I'm Ullman. Welcome to Navigating Everything, the channel where I try and help you navigate all aspects of tough topics like parenting, mental health, how to be a better man, and many others. We're hearing today more and more students who are entering college and university and are ill-prepared for even some of the basics of life. So this is a video in a series I'm doing on things our kids need to learn before they graduate high school. Today's video is about your kids getting their license. Now, I want to just start and say it is a good thing for our kids to get their license. And we're seeing this incredible shift in students today where many kids do not get their license when they turn 16. Back in my day, and I'm 49, it was basically everyone who got their license immediately after they turned 16. From the stats today, I've read in the 90s it dropped to around 90%, and recently we're seeing stats of around 60 to 80%. Now, there are some conversations we could have around this. The cost of cars these days, graduated licensing where it takes a while to get your full license. I'm not going to really address that today. A number of articles I read talk about how once a teen moves out of the house, there is less opportunities for their kind of driving experience to kind of begin with their parents. You know, most of us learn with our parents, driving around town, doing errands, going to the sports and other things we're involved at. We need to learn gradually, little by little, each time we drive. And once our kids are out of the house, we lose this opportunity. Now, often, not always, but often, I see the fears of the parents in the comments of how the teens speak about driving to me. They say, well, I live in a big city, or we have a van, or there's lots of traffic. Well, Brett, it would be really hard to find parking. Now, these are all statements that parents have said to their kids, and the kids now have taken on those fears. By the way, all of those things are things your kids can overcome. You did, and so can they. So here's my suggestion. As your teen moves into the pre-teen years, they're 13, they're 14 years of age, and they begin to ask about driving, talk positively about it. Say things like, what a great opportunity it will be when you can drive. My daughter Zoe was around 15 when we were driving past our church parking lot. She said, one day, can I drive in the parking lot? I put on my signal and pulled in. She spent 20 minutes that day just driving around the parking lot. It was amazing not to watch where she was going, but to actually watch her and the excitement in her eyes. We did this many times, and the day she turned 16, we went and got her license. Where I live in Ontario, you can get a G license, where you have to drive with an adult. We used to call this a 365 for my generation growing up. She then took driver's ed, and if you take driver's education, you can take your G2, where you can drive on your own at 8 months instead of 1 year. When we went to book her test, there were no tests. Nothing available for anything that was close to us. So we booked an appointment in a town called Lindsay, about an hour away from us. My wife and I both took the morning off work and drove her up to do her test. We supported her from the beginning and to the end in this entire process. Now, the one debate I often hear from parents whose kids live in large cities, they say this, like, there's no need to get their license. Now, this might be true for the most part for now, where you're at. Public transit is a great way to get around for many people who don't have cars, but I would still encourage you to have your kid get their license. There is always the just in case they need to drive somewhere, and for the most part, there will be a time in their life when they'll need a license. Maybe they move out of the city. Maybe they get a job where they need to drive. It's always just a good thing for your kid to get their license. It's sort of this rite of passage, and it starts with the way that we as parents frame the conversation when they're younger. Now, sometimes someone says that they don't drive because they have anxiety, and we need to kind of dig deeper here and ask some questions. People who struggle with anxiety can drive. I struggle with anxiety, and I drive. Generalized anxiety in life does not always mean anxiety or even a phobia about driving. It might, but I don't assume someone struggling with anxiety in life will just translate into not driving. It's just not true. There is also normal anxiety as your kids learn to drive. When my kids began to drive, even the smallest thing probably had a little anxiety to it. When you drive around your community for the first time and then you venture outside of that, you go on a larger road, the first time turning left at a large intersection, first time doing a roundabout. What happens is after doing these things a few times, you realize you can do it and you're okay. I think all students should get their license before they graduate high school. I think it is a perfect time in life, and for those of you who don't have their license, this is something you can look at doing in the next year. Book an appointment, get your learner's permit, and then kind of go from there. I'd love to hear just your thoughts on this conversation on kids getting their license. I'll talk to you soon.